Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Because I Have a Live Mic here on Fluent Radio. What's good, everybody? We got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to talk about the NBA and how the Lakers are starting to gel and why it may be a little worse for some teams. We also going to talk about the play-in battle in the West and why two teams in particular may probably not make the playoffs this year. We also going to talk about some of my dark horse teams who I think may not make the NBA finals, but at least make their respective conference finals at the very least. Also, going to talk about the NHL versus NBA and why the NHL thinks that they all of a sudden they can kind of swoop in while the NBA is down. And we're also going to talk about the NFL and why the Packers are just pulling a whole punk move right now. But first, obviously, we're going to start with the NBA. The Lakers are starting to jail. Like this is probably what a lot of people were worried about when it came to the Lakers, when it came to LeBron and Luka, because they're starting to jail now, and it is not looking good for a lot of. They finally beat the team they have not beat in about 3 years. I would say 5 years. They haven't beat them since 2022 at Denver. They finally beat the Denver Nuggets, and like the way they did it was something that I don't know if you can replicate multiple games because, great players tend to figure out what you do and then try to take it away. But the way they beat the Nuggets is something to behold. Like, I know we like to dunk on JJ Redick, but we don't give JJ Redick enough credit, right? Like, offensively, we knew it was going to be, a shootout, right? Like, Luka and LeBron, we all knew offensively they were going to figure it out. Defensively was the only thing that we had to worry about with them, right? Like, defensively was the only struggle that I thought was going to come up. They had a game plan for Jokic, and it worked to perfection. Like, they were able to shut Jokic down. Again, can they repeat it on multiple games? I don't know, but it worked now. And if they can get the blueprint on how to beat Jokic, because they're the 3 seed right now, and Denver is the 6 seed. So if the playoffs started today, they would have them in the first round. And if they can continue to do what they were just doing to Jokic, which was suffocating him, not letting him get the ball, they basically they did the Jordan rule to him. Anytime he got the ball, everybody was on Jokic. Make him pass the ball. Make him not, again, make him have tough shots. Make him not be able to get comfortable. Make him go to the spots he's not comfortable with. And they were doing that to perfection. And now Luka and LeBron are starting to figure it out too. The Lakers are about to be a hassle for some of these teams. Defensively, they're going to figure it out. Offensively, we already knew that was going to happen. But now that Luka and LeBron are on the same page, are starting to get a little bit more comfortable with each other. Luka's starting to come back to the Luka of old that we knew he could be. Ooh, boy. Good luck. I'm not saying that they're going to make it to the finals. I'm not Shannon Sharp up here talking about Lakers in 5. But the Lakers have a chance to get to, at the very least, the conference finals this year. If they can continue to do what they were just doing, if they can continue to gel and get better, if Luke and LeBron can figure out, again, how each other works a lot more, good luck. Good luck trying to stop those two teams. Speaking of teams that should try to be stopping, I will say this. There are two teams right now that should probably start hitting the panic button. One a little bit more than the other one. The Knicks right now are very. I don't even want to say hit and miss. They just can't beat the top teams in the East right now, right? Like they're 0-7 against the top teams in the East, which is Boston and Cleveland, right? And for the Knicks, who were, a lot of people's pick to go to the NBA Finals this year, for them not to be able to kind of beat the teams that you're supposed to beat in the top, in the East, for them to not be able to have at least one game, I would start panicking if I'm New York, right? Because you made the trade for Cat. This was supposed to be the missing piece that was supposed to push you over the edge. Him and Jalen Brunson were gelling very well. They are still gelling very well. Like this team is very good. It's just for some reason they cannot match up well with top teams in the East. Boston just slaughtered them the other day. So did the Cavs, right? Like those are the teams that you may not get in the first round, but you will definitely see them in the second round. And I don't know if the Knicks are built for once again another second round exit, especially after getting Cat, trading for him, trading for a lot of these pieces away that a lot of people were they were cherished pieces of the Knicks, right? We joke about Dante DiVincenzo, but he was on that Knicks team and he was rarely loved. And trading him away, getting Cat, this was supposed to be the missing piece for that championship run that they were supposed to have this year. And if they can't figure out how to beat the top teams in the East, I don't know how far they can go in the playoffs this year. And I'll put it to you like this. If they can't get to, at the very least, the conference finals, at best, the NBA finals, Thibodeau might be gone. Like, Jalen Brunson is still there because he signed that contract, but Thibodeau might be gone and they may be looking for a new head coach. And I think this might be Thibodeau's last little hurrah in the NBA if he can't do it this year, right? Like, I think he's a great coach. He's taken, teams to the finals. I mean, not to the finals, to the playoffs that nobody really predicted could go. But if he can't figure out how to get this team playing at a high level against teams that you're supposed to be competing with, he may be out of there this year. And of course, the team I think probably should be mashing that panic button is the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know they're on like a 4-game winning streak right now. They look great. Kuzma's starting to kind of get together with Dame and Giannis. But the thing with the Bucks is they have to. There is no like, oh well, if they get to no, they have to get to the finals, right? Giannis signed that big contract. He's sticking around because he wanted to win in Milwaukee. You went out and got Dame for this very reason, right? You traded away Chris Middleton to get Kuzma to get younger on the wings. This is a win now team. If they don't do it now, they are in trouble, right? And the only thing I will say will holding them back is probably Doc Rivers, because Doc, we all know, outside of the one time he went to the finals with Boston, he has not had a great playoff record. With the Clippers, with Philadelphia, now with Milwaukee, they cannot afford another one and done. They cannot afford it. Because if they do have another one and done, this team may get blown up. Like, they may start from scratch. Because yes, Giannis may have that one title there. That yes, Giannis, did win the title, but I don't know if he's going to stick around to kind of be in the middle of yet another rebuild, right? Bobby Portis is gone for 25 games, right? So he probably won't be back until the playoffs. And then right now, I think they're the 5th seed. And they don't match up well with Boston. They really don't match up well with the Cavs. They need to have a big year this year, and they need to get back to the finals this year if they want to keep this team together, if they want to stick around for another year to see if they can make this. This is a make or break year for that whole entire organization, especially on the court. If they don't do it this year, Doc, Giannis, Dame may be gone, especially with Dame, because I don't know if Dame wants to stick around and wants yet again not be able to compete with the top teams. That's the reason why he left Portland, right? Like, he wasn't competing. He wasn't getting the shine that he deserves. He goes to Milwaukee, and a lot of people expected this thing just to take off rip. And yes, last year they had a lot of injuries. Giannis was out. Chris Middleton was playing hurt. Yeah, they had some injuries, but you were still supposed to at the very least, get past the first round, and they didn't. This year, they have to. They cannot afford a first round exit again. Like, no excuses, no nothing. Like, no matter what happens, they cannot afford another first round exit. If they do, it's done for this Milwaukee Bucks team. So, speaking of playoff teams and battles, we do have, I'll say this, we do have a nice little interesting kind of battle in the play-ins in the West, right? The 4 teams that are like trying to get to that play-in spot are, I'll say this, they probably won't, certain teams won't, make it, and then other teams will probably play spoilers to a lot of the top teams, especially if, it falls out the way I think it will. Like right now, Sacramento is playing its heart out, but I don't know how far they can go. I mean, they have the Kings, no pun intended, of the play in DeRozan and Zach LaVine, because that's all they were getting in the Bulls uniforms, and now they're playing together again, and they're playing very well, right? Matching up well, gelling well with Sabonis, but the Kings just don't have that it factor that a lot of teams are looking for, right? Like, yeah, they went out and got Zach, yeah, they went out and got DeRozan, but I don't know if that was enough to kind of push them over, the edge of the other, play-in teams. So, like, I think they would get into the play-in, but I don't know if they will make the playoffs this year per se. Like if they have to, because if they have to match up with somebody like, I don't know, Minnesota in a play-in tournament, Minnesota, I don't want to say fell off, but this was to be expected when you trade away a big piece like Cat, right? A big piece like Cat, you trade him away. Yeah, it was some expectations of fall off, but I think this, how am I gonna put it? It wasn't supposed to be this bad this soon. I think what happened was they thought Nas Reed could kind of step up and be what Cat was, and he really hasn't, so to speak. Like he hasn't been able to kind of fill that, Carl Anthony Towns void that they thought he would. And with that, a lot more pressure has fallen on Anthony Edwards, and he's not stepping up to the plate as a lot of people would expect him to. He's still kind of faltering a little bit. Again, depending on how you look at Anthony Edwards, we'll talk more about him in a minute. But he's still like one of the top players in the game right now, right? Like he's one of the new fresh faces in the league. And while he still has like those spectacular highlights that he does, right? Especially with the back at you off the backboard and the dunk, right? Like he's going to give you those. It doesn't translate over into wins, and that's why they're kind of struggling right now. And while if it came down to a game between Sacramento and Minnesota, I still give the edge to Minnesota just because I think Minnesota has that it factor of they have their guy, they know when they need it, Anthony Edwards can step up. With Sacramento, it's kind of that guy by committee. One night it could be Zach, one night it can be DeRozan, one night it can be the Sabonis, right? Like it can be multiple people, so you can't key in on one guy. But at that same time, when the pressure is on and they need that guy to step up, Ant can do that, and he can step up and be the guy. So like I'll give the edge over to Minnesota if that came into a playing game. And then honestly, the last two teams have kind of different trajectories, right? The Dallas Mavericks obviously are still feeling the Luka trade, right? Anthony Davis is out, for the foreseeable future for a while. You have, Kyrie trying to, take over this team a little bit. But I just don't see Dallas kind of getting out of the play. And I really do think Dallas will be out. Like they'll make the play in tournament, but I don't think they'll, make it past their first game. Right? Because Golden State, say what you will. Say what you will about Golden State, but everybody thought the Jimmy Butler trade wasn't going to work. I thought it was not going to work because you put two hot heads like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green on the same team. I did not think it was going to work, but it's working really well. Steve Kerr has that team playing at a high level, and they look like they can play spoiler to a lot of teams. If I'm, any team, if I'm, Memphis or if I'm Oklahoma City, I don't want to see Golden State in the first round. Steph looked like he's going back to, old school Steph. He looks like he's having fun again. Jimmy's out there playing at a high level. Draymond's, Draymond, but he's still there. Steve Kerr has this team going. And a lot of their younger players are stepping up. So if I'm one of those top two teams, I don't want to see Golden State because I definitely think Golden State could play spoiler to a up and start, Oklahoma Oklahoma City Thunder team with Shea. They can ruin their, right now his run. Like he's at it playing at a high MVP level and is probably going to win the MVP this year. And if I'm them, I not saying I'm running for air, but I don't want to see that because that's all you need is give Steph and that Golden State Warriors team a door and let them go. Because between the championship experience, the players that they have on the court, the coaching, all of that, If you give them an inch, they will take a mile. And we know anytime you give them an inch, they take that mile. So if I'm any of those teams, I don't want to see Golden State in the first round. I don't think Golden State will make it to like the finals, but you never know. If they get on a run, if they get on a nice little run, because now, like I said, with Jimmy there, they have another viable second option, right? And it's not somebody, no offense to, Clay or anything like that. It's not somebody who's just going to shoot threes, right? Jimmy's going to go in the paint. Jimmy's the type of dude who will battle you. Defensively, they've gotten better. So now they're able to shut down teams a little bit more. So Golden State is not going to be an easy out for any team looking to get into that play-in tournament. And then if they do get into the actual playoffs, good luck. Play-ins and people, could cause a ruckus in the playoffs. I have a few teams that I think are like dark horses to kind of make their conference finals. I don't think they'll make the NBA finals, but I do think that they can make the conference finals at the very least. Well, one team I think that has had a complete turnaround is the Detroit Pistons, right? Like the Detroit Pistons, the team that hasn't been to the playoffs since 2019, has the record for the most playoff losses, 14 consecutive playoff series, losing. Right now, they're playing at a level that people predicted that they would, because again, they've been slowly but surely coming along. But right now, they're playing at a high level, right? Like they have a guy in Cade Cunningham who I think is going to be a top guy in the league going, forward, right? Once Ivy comes back off he's in a walking boot now. Once he comes back, he's going to be another one of those guys that are kind of the building block for this Detroit Piston team. I really do think that they have a chance to get to, at the very least, their conference final, right? Like I'm not shocked if they would, right? Like they're the 6th seed right now. They will play New York, and like I said, New York's kind of up and down. If they get in the door, they have a chance to make some noise for real. And I would not be shocked if they do get to, again, if they're currently the 6th seed, so they would have to play either Cleveland or, if, depending on how they falter, they would have to play Cleveland in the second round, or, Boston in the second round. But they match up well with them. And if they go against Boston, I think Boston has the championship experience to kind of, get over the hump. But Cleveland and Detroit, that could be a matchup that we're talking about in the playoff series for a while. So be on the lookout for Detroit. Again, I do not think that anyone would be shocked if they got to the conference finals at the very least. Another team that's young and hungry and, proven that they, kind of sort of belong in the league is the Houston Rockets. And the Rockets have something I don't think a lot of teams have, right? Ndoku is on a goal to prove that they should not have fired him from Boston, right? He's taking this young Rockets team and putting in the work to kind of make them a viable threat in the West, right? Like they are the 4th seed right now, and oh no, not 4th seed, 5th seed, sorry. They're the 5th seed right now, and while they went on that little streak, like that losing streak, they kind of bounced back against the Timberwolves. So the best thing about especially these two teams is that they are young, so they don't know anything, right? Like they don't know what it's like to kind of, go into that position of being young and dumb, right? They have the best chance to play, right? They have the chance to kind of be the Kings of a few years ago, where they go in and they make a noise in the playoffs. They threaten one of those teams that everybody's thinking like, oh, okay, they here for real. And again, both of these teams have a guy that they can count on when the moment is big, right? For Detroit, it's Cade Cunningham. For Houston, it's Jared Allen, right? Jared Allen, right? They have guys there that they can count on. Not Jared, Jalen Green, sorry. Jared Green, sorry. They Jared Allen, sorry. I was focusing on the Hall of Fame earlier, sorry. Yeah, they have guys there that they can count on to kind of take over in those big moments where if they need a player to step up, they have that. And again, with a lot of teams not really having that, especially in the West, the Houston Rockets can make some type of noise there. And I put this team on here, and I know a lot of people are going to look at me sideways for saying that, But I put this team on here because I really do think that we are not so much overlooking the Suns, but I just think the dysfunction around the Suns is kind of made us not think that they are, a viable team, right? Again, they have three guys on there that can drop 30 almost every night. They have arguably the best scorer in the league when he's locked in, which is KD, right? This team has the potential to be able to make that late season run, which I think and I know that they have the capability of doing. It's just one of those cases where I don't know how well they like. It is so weird to say this now, especially like after being together for a year or two. Like they still haven't fully gelled and found each other's spots, so to speak, right? But I would not look over the Suns if they can make the play-in tournament. They are a dangerous team if they can make it in because again, the Suns is another team where if you give them an inch, they could take a mile. It's not as set in stone as it's not as set in stone as like the Warriors are, but if once they get locked in, they are locked in, right? Give them a chance, they can take it. And I would not want to see them a locked in Suns team. So they're a dark horse to make it because again, they can score with anybody. Defensively, they've gotten a little bit better since the trade deadline. If they lock in, the Suns are a dangerous team to mess with. And then speaking of locking in and teams, uh this conversation always comes up, especially around this time frame, especially now with LeBron slowly but surely getting, aging out of the league and Steph aging out of the league, is that we always bring up this conversation of who's going to be the next face of the NBA. And I know a lot of people have always kind of been hesitant to kind of say who's going to be the next face, but I will say it's probably going to be an international star. I'm sorry, it is, right? Right now, the international stars are kind of taking over the league, right? You talk about who are the best players right now in 2024, 2025. You're talking about Nikola Jokic. You're talking about Luka Doncic. You're talking about Victor Wembanyama. You're talking about those guys. All of those guys are international stars. The NBA knows that. The NBA is slowly but surely pushing that, right? I mean, again, Luka's in LA now. Once LeBron officially steps down, and once again, if let's just say, God forbid, they win the title this year, right? I can see it now. The Hollywood ending, the confetti's falling. LeBron and Luka dapping each other up, and LeBron takes the crown that he always puts on his head and then puts it on Luka. Like that will be the signifier of the passing of the torch because Luka would be officially the face of the NBA. Like I know the American audience doesn't necessarily like it so much, but they are no real like American basketball players that has the name cachet right now to kind of be the face, right? For a while, it was going to be Zion, and it just never manifested in that way, right? Like Zion Williamson never really stepped up in the way that he should have to be the face of the NBA. Y'all talk about Anthony Davis not being playing, calling him day to day Davis, but Zion has not played a full season yet. Right? Zion has missed more games than Anthony Davis has. Zion is more known for his off the court issues than he is for his on the court issues. And right now, that Pelicans team is not where it is. Is not where it should be for him to be able to be known as the face of the league. Could he be it? Yes, definitely. If Zion, I will say this: if Zion leaves, and he doesn't even have to go to like a big name city like a Chicago, like a LA, New York, or Dallas, like he can go to maybe like he can go to I don't know. I mean, I highly doubt he goes there, but he can go to like a Memphis. He can go to like a, I wouldn't say Portland. Portland's not that big of a market, but he can go to like a not like a top market, but a middle market someplace in there, and he can be the guy there. And if he can turn his career around, they'll definitely start to push him a little bit more. But until Zion takes it seriously, like locks in the league and takes it seriously, he's not going to be the face. For a while there, it was going to be John Morant, right? And I'll say this: I understand why the NBA did what they did, why they couldn't really like push him to be the face of the league. But what's more American than guns? Like, let's be honest. What's more American than guns? Like, if like I get it, they couldn't be like, hey, hey, Amazon Prime, like I know you guys are about to start streaming our games. Here's John Morant, the guy that got in trouble for guns. I know they can't do that, but come on, right? I really do think Ja could have been the face of the league if they would have handled the gun situation a lot better. And he could have did it too, right? Like I get it, right? He could have handled the gun situation a whole hell of a lot better too. But he definitely could. He still could be the face of the league, and he's in the Memphis squad right now, where they are the second seed in the West. They're playing. They're playing like again. The year he got hurt, the year he was suspended, they were not great, and now he's back playing with them, and he's back to being taking them to being potentially a finals competitor. Ja can definitely be the face of the NBA, right? The ball boys, right? The ball boys could have been there, but LaMelo unfortunately is on a squad where he doesn't get much attention. He's the best player on a squad that's not really good. And then you have Lonzo, who again is trying to build himself back up after getting hurt, but they're not going to be able to do it. So like the only other person I can think, even though he's not technically an American, he's from Canada, like he's not from the Americas, he's from Canada, so it is, harder. It's not super harder, but he is technically international, would be Shea, right? Like Shea is Shea right now is balling out of his mind, right? He's leading MVP voting. He's probably gonna win MVP voting this year. He's on a team that is the number one seed and right now looking like the best team in basketball. Like Shea has the opportunity to become the face of the league. I just don't know if he wants it, because the problem nowadays is that a lot of these top players don't really want the notoriety like that, right? Like when LeBron came in the league, Bron was already, he was already on magazine covers. He was already touted as the best player to come out of high school since Mike. He was the best player to come out. All of these things, it was a lot of fanfare, a lot of rigmarole when he was coming out. So it was easy for them to kind of transition him into being the guy for the years to come. And again, luckily for them, he ended up being the guy for 21 years, right? Not too many scandals, you know, was able, you can put him on CNN, you can put him on Disney Channel, you can put him on, almost any network, and he wasn't going to, he has no scandals, he has nothing like in his personal life that you can really be like, oh my gosh, it's hard to push him, right? And now his son is in the league. So with LeBron, they lucked up on something, and now they kind of have to manufacture somebody because they, for some reason, don't want to push the international star just yet. I think they will eventually, because they want to start to kind of like outreaching a little bit out the world, so to speak, right? They want to start, they've already started playing, NBA games in Paris, right? Soon they're probably going to start playing NBA games in Europe, right? Well, technically they are. Paris is in Europe. But anyway, but yeah, they're going to start playing those more out there. And I think they do need an international face for that part. If they want to start pushing it more and more towards a world, I'll be honest with you, a world domination of basketball. I think they want to start pushing that a little bit more. So that's why I think it's probably for the best for them to have an international face of the league until the next great American basketball player kind of comes up. So the face of the league conversation. And again, I'll put it like this too. When did we start having this conversation about who we give the face of the league to? Most people who want to be the face take the face of the league, right? We gave it like I think it started with LeBron because we gave it to LeBron because, again, coming out of high school, most touted, basketball player to come out. But when you look at past in the NBA, right? Magic took the face of the league, right? Magic took it. He didn't wait for it to be given to him. He took it. Jordan took the face of the league. He didn't wait for it to be given to him. He took it. Kobe and Shaq took the faces of the league. They didn't wait for it. Like right now, I don't think none of the American players want to take it, so to speak. They want it to be kind of like given to them. Not so much on the silver platter. Like a lot of them are earning it, but a lot of them want them to kind of just be handed to them. And like that's not how it works. Like if you want to be known as the guy, if you want to be known as the face of the league, you have to take it. And I just don't think a lot of those players are, I don't want to say savvy enough, but business sense wise enough to understand that once I become the face of the league, everything goes up, right? The price of admission goes up once I'm the face, once I'm the guy, because everybody wants to come see me, right? I don't know. I don't think a lot of players nowadays want that. I think a lot of players are very much, again, nothing wrong with that, are focusing on playing the game of basketball, but not the basketball game, so to speak, if you get my drift. They just want to play basketball, make their money, go home, win titles, whatever. A lot of people don't want to do that. I mean, perfect example is Anthony Edwards, right? Anthony Edwards, King YN right now. He's the king of the YNs in the NBA. Like the man came up, the man came up to Obama and said, like, "Nah, bro, I'm the truth." Like people forget Anthony Edwards is from Atlanta, so like that's already red flag YN number one. Then you had in the news Anthony Edwards texting the chick telling her he don't want nothing to do with the baby. She said, "Do you hate me?" He texts back so fast. Instead of saying yes, he said his. Like he texted so back it auto corrected to his because even the phone was like, "Bro, are you serious? Like, are you real right now?" But Anthony Edwards has said he doesn't want to be the face of the league. I don't think anybody, because again, it comes with an added amount of pressure that I don't think a lot of people can handle. So like it's one of those things where if you can't handle it, let us know now so that way we can go on. And a lot of them are doing that. And that's why I think an international face is probably going to be it. At the very least, at least 2 years from now, once LeBron finally like hangs it up. So it's most likely going to be Luka. It's not going to be Jokic. They tried with Jokic. Jokic's like, nah. Once basketball season is over, he goes home and he goes with his horses because that's the only thing like I've actually physically seen him happy about is when he goes back to his home country and gets to be around his horses. Winning the title, yeah, the job's done. We can go home now. Being around his horses, the man was ecstatic. So, so I know a lot of my audience is, the plus 30 range. Yeah, you won't be honest, they're in the plus 30 range. So a lot of y'all know like old school R&B, right? Y'all know the songs where, the one dude was talking to the girl, telling her how her dude's not doing her right, and if she only came with him, everything would be all right. Everything would just be great, right? Trey Songz, I can't help but wait. Brian McKnight telling you should be with me. That's what the NHL is trying to do with the NBA right now. Like that is literally what they're doing, right? Like they see right now, like the American people in the NBA is kind of like not being okay, and they trying to slide in and be like, "Hey, baby, you want to come over and watch some ice hockey?" No, nobody wants to do that. I'm sorry, nobody wants to do that. You got in the NHL, like very competitive. You guys are the fourth most popular sport in America, behind soccer. Right. It's football, basketball, baseball, soccer. Well, sorry, they're fifth, right behind that. Right. Baseball is beating y'all out. And I don't think anyone has ever watched a baseball game fully, like from start to finish. Either they come in, they blink out, or they, start in the fifth inning once it gets good. Right. And I'm not mad at him for doing that, right? They did everything right. They had the brother up there on ESPN talking about how when you step on that ice, you give everything you got no matter what. passion. That's why our fans love it. Like, guys, you all haven't broken a plus 10 in the final ratings since like the 90s, right? Your biggest market, your biggest time when people were watching it, when people were literally locked in their houses and they couldn't go anywhere. And y'all only did a 7, like a 7.5 rating. Like, people talk about how the NBA finals ratings are going down. They're still beating y'all. And it's not even for the fact that it's not like this competitive sport, like people don't want to watch it. It's not even for the fact that, for people who are my complexion, if you will, right? It's not even that the fact that they don't have brothers, because they got brothers on the ice now, right? Like, they got some brothers out there. It's just one of those sports where it's a bit of a culture thing, right? It's a bit of a culture thing, right? If you grew up, you know, watching hockey, you probably played it, you know, in college, in high school, if you had a high school hockey team, there, right? If your team, again, if your school had a hockey team in high school, that should tell you everything you need to know. Most people who grew up in the hood and most people who grew up in, hood adjacent areas didn't have hockey teams for their high schools, right? It's a culture thing, right? It's nothing bad about it. It's nothing, oh my gosh, it's something terrible. It's just one of those things where you're trying to cross over into a market that doesn't really watch your sport like that, that doesn't play your sport. Like, I'm in the Midwest. Hockey is huge in the Midwest, right? In Chicago, especially, right? Like in the 2010s, the Blackhawks were the only team that was, consistently winning, right? Like they had, I think, they won in like the 10 years, I think, 4 Stanley Cups, right? Like, they were a very good team. And in Chicago, the Bears were still, again, then the 2010s where the Bears were, actually terrible, they were still beating them out in the ratings. Like, people were still talking more about the Bears, right? When you go to most stores, like, you see more Bears, Bulls, and Sox and Cubs jerseys than you do Blackhawk jerseys. It's not that like people don't watch it, it's just a culture thing. People don't really get the connection towards it, right? Basketball, reason why people may, piss and moan and, be all upset about it. The reason why people still watch it, because again, it's still that thing where it takes you back when you were a kid playing on the court, right? Every now and then you would think about, you would have it in your mind while you just, running up and down the court of the game 7, you hitting that final shot to win the title, right? Football, you running on the field, you know, catching the pass to win the Super Bowl. Hell, even baseball, when you were playing baseball when you were a kid, again, baseball is the most popular sport for kids in the ages of, 5 to 10. So that's almost everybody starts with baseball. Like, it's still one of those sports that is the most popular within that age group. A lot of times it's just the culture. So that's why hockey's never going to really get that crossover appeal and kind of bleed into like a lot of the culture, so to speak. It's not going to do it. It's not again, it's not a bad thing. It's just brothers not really watching hockey like that. Sorry. It is what it is. So going into the NFL, the salary cap did increase, so good news for a lot of teams, especially the Saints, because they were in cap hell, like they were -60 into the cap, so this helps them out a little bit, not much, but a little bit. Um, the cap did raise from like 250 million to like 270 million, give or take, you know, numbers. But no, this helps out a lot of teams because now a lot of teams have a lot more money to spend. A lot of teams have a lot more, uh, capital to use on players, and be able to sign more top tier players that they weren't able to before the cap increased. A lot of it has to do with the TV deals, right? Most of it has to do with the Netflix deal that the NFL is going to be doing more games on Netflix. Hopefully, Netflix figures out how to do live TV a little bit. I mean, they fixed it from like the fight from the Tyson and Paul fight, they fixed it because like I've been watching Raw on Netflix and it's live, so it's getting better. I think they're figuring out how to do live TV a lot better. But again, money rights from that, money rights from Amazon Prime, renewing contracts with CBS, Fox, NBC, Peacock, all of that help the cap increase, and it's going to help a lot of teams out, especially teams like I said, the Saints, especially teams like Kansas City, who were not they were in cap purgatory. They weren't in cap hell just yet. They were in cap purgatory. But like I said, the good thing about the cap and the good thing about NFL contracts is like a lot of those bigger money contracts are loaded on the back end. So it's kicking the can down the road, so to speak, but they can now be able to kind of fix the issues that they had, right? Because, the offensive line, once again, was an issue for the Kansas City Chiefs this year. And they can now sign probably, another big name receiver to go alongside Xavier Worthy and Rashid Rice next year, right? Chris Godwin, maybe they make a trade for Tyreek Hill. Who knows? This definitely helps out the Patriots and the Raiders in a big way, right? Like now they don't have to essentially, they it accelerates their plans for a rebuild, right? Like they have a lot more money to spend now, so they possibly could steal a T. Higgins away. They possibly could sign, well, for the Raiders, they possibly could sign a bridge quarterback until they figure out what they're going to do, if they're going to draft a quarterback this year, if they're not. So this helps out teams. And for like the people who don't know what the cap is, or again, the cap is basically just like the budget for a team. If they go over it, it affects them for next year. A lot of teams do go over it, especially when they think that they have the team ready to win a Super Bowl, and it's worth the risk. If you know that your team is ready to win a Super Bowl this year, it's worth the risk to go out and sign a bigger name star so that way you can, you know, essentially win it all and then have to worry about the repercussions down the line later on. But as of now, like I said, teams who need to fill a lot of holes and was trying to, fill it through the draft and fill it through, kick that can down the road a little bit more, don't have to wait as long. Cincinnati probably can sign T. Higgins back, right? They can sign Jamar Chase to a big money contract that he deserves, right? They don't have to, essentially start over from scratch, even though Cincinnati's most likely going to do that. I have no hope in my mind that Cincinnati will sign T. Higgins to an actual contract that he actually deserves. Cincinnati, we all know Cincinnati is cheap. We all know Cincinnati is cheap and they are not going to do that. But now that they have actually more money to spend, they can actually start fixing a lot more holes on their team. Because again, as much as I think they would have loved to keep T. Higgins, if possible, to keep him and keep Jamar Chase at the same time, they would have probably let T. Higgins walk or traded him away and was able to kind of fix that defense, because that's what they do need, right? Like if they were, I'll say this, if they were able to trade T. Higgins away, get at the very least a second round pick or second and third, and maybe a second next year, get another receiver. Because again, with a team with a Jamar Chase on it, you're going to, defenses are arguably going to focus more on Jamar Chase, right? It helps when they have, a wider range of receivers not to single out Jamar Chase, which is why he was able to have like multiple 200 games. But if they can, if they don't re-sign T. Higgins and they draft somebody, a Nick Nash, so to speak, he has the capability of exploding and being a top receiver just because he won't get all of the attention, right? Because they need a running back. The running back by committee did not work. Defense obviously needs to be fixed. They need to fix a lot of holes on that defense. Offensive line needs to get better. So they have a lot of stuff that they have to focus on. But again, now with the cap being a little bit higher, they can do a lot more and be able to keep him. But I doubt they do that. Again, free agency starts in a few days. I wouldn't be shocked if we see a trade happen and T. Higgins ends up maybe most likely in the Patriots. I think the Patriots will probably do it. Again, they already have their quarterback for the future. They still have some holes to fill, but they can do that in free agency. If they go out, they need to make a big splash and get Drake May a true number one receiver. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see T. Higgins as a Patriot next year. But this does help, especially like the Saints, like I said, who are in cap hell. It doesn't get them out of it, but it does free up some money so that that way they can start their rebuild off a little bit faster than what they were anticipating, right? I still think, I still fully think they are going to either trade either Alvin Kamara or Derek Carr this year. I do not see. I'll see one of them. I don't think I'll see both of them in a Saints uniform this year playing for the Saints. I think Alvin Kamara probably is a bigger trade, asset, because again, he still has the capability of being that, gadget player, multiple position player, right? He can play the slot, he can play the running back, he can, catch it out the backfield. He can do a lot of things, and he's not in his prime in what he used to be, but he still can have that capability of spelling a running back and, changing up the defense and keeping them honest. Derek Carr, I think, is still a very good quarterback when he has, actual people to throw to. And I think the Saints know that Derek Carr is probably not in their future. So I think they may look to kind of trade him off and maybe go get somebody in the draft, maybe a Jackson Dart. If they don't trade him off, I do think they'll end up keeping him and then still drafting a Jackson Dart, because Spencer Rattler did not turn out to what they thought he was going to be. They thought he was going to be a little bit better to make that move off of Derek Carr easier. And with him not really being able to, solidify it, so to speak, it makes it a little bit harder and tougher. But again, the Saints organization is good with being patient and understanding that it takes time to kind of rebuild this organization to what it was a few years ago. Because again, it's hard. It's hard coming off of Drew Brees and trying to find another quarterback. So, and again, another player that I think probably will be a definite trade target is Taysom Hill. Again, not too many tight end quarterback combinations out there, so he's definitely going to probably be a trade asset that they can use to kind of rebuild this team going forward. So, but with the cap rising, we're going to see a lot more big money contracts. We're going to see a lot more people having those record breaking contracts, and especially this year, because I definitely think they're going to focus more on the trenches, like offensive and defensive line. I think we'll see a lot more big money contracts coming towards those players who haven't really been getting the money that they deserve, right? Again, they're the most important players on the team and they don't get the recognition they deserve. So they're definitely going to get some more money coming their way. So the raising the cap is definitely good for the NFL. What's not good for the NFL, you say? Oh, how about the Green Bay Packers legitimately crying? Like they like legitimately crying about a play. So there was rumors going out that that there was a team that was trying to petition the league to not do the tush push, that they should ban the tush push from the NFL because it's a dangerous play, right? All I'm hearing is we can't stop this play, so the NFL should ban it. That's literally what they are saying. We cannot stop this play, so we should ban it from the league. Our linebackers are getting hurt. Our defensive line is just getting piled on. So it's illegal. We should stop it. Stop it. It's literally a quarterback sneak and the running back pushes him forward. This play has happened for years and years in the NFL. The only issue now is the dude who does it squats like 500 pounds. Let me tell you this right now. You can outlaw it and make it go back to a quarterback sneak. He's still probably going to get the first down. The guy squats 500 pounds. The running back behind him, even if you put him in the quarterback position just to run it, he also squats like 500 pounds too. Just figure out a way to stop it, because I hope the NFL doesn't ban it. Because this is basically screams to me like, so I don't know if y'all remember like a few, oh my God, almost a decade ago, the Wildcat was a thing. When the running, when Miami first busted out, and a lot of people didn't know how to stop it. The Wildcat was this whole thing that was supposed to take over the league, and it really didn't. This kind of just is that. It's just the Wildcat, except the quarterback is there and he just runs forward. Like this is not so. It would be a different story if it was like a dirty play and multiple people were getting hurt on it, and like everybody was, it was something that was detrimental to the league. But it's not. It's just a play y'all can't stop. So instead of trying to figure out how to, scheme better and stop the play, y'all just want the NFL to take it out the league in general. And that to me is just a punk move. Like that is the biggest punk move I have seen. And it's so filling that it was the Green Bay Packers who did it. It is so fulfilling as a Bears fan that out of all the teams in the league, I was for sure it was the Dallas Cowboys. I was for sure for it to come out to be the Green Bay Packers. I love the fact that y'all just can't find the play. Y'all can't stop this play, so y'all gotta run. Y'all have to run to the principal office to tattletale and say, they're doing this unfairly. You need to stop it. This one goes out to you, Uncle Will. The Packers now have officially crossed over into that little punk range. Just a smidge, just a smidge. Just be better. That's all I gotta say. Be better. Figure out how to stop it. Other teams have their success rate with it is not 100%. Just figure out how to stop it. Stop being punks. So we got the as I like to call it, the underwear Olympics coming up, aka the scouting combine. And I'll be honest with you, I stopped watching the scouting combine a while ago just because it doesn't show me anything different that I haven't seen already if I've actually watched the game. Like to me, the scouting combine is it's good and detrimental to certain players because again, like you have like players who are like athletic freaks that can go out there in a controlled environment and look great. But then once they get into the game, they don't look the same like they did with the scouting combine, right? You'll have people who were faster in the combine or slower in the combine, and then a lot of people think, their draft stocks, their draft stock drops or falls, and depending on the player and the team, like it could be a complete bust or it could be a hidden gem. So with the scouting combine, I'm always a little like, I don't really care how it goes, right? And I think people have started to take it a little too seriously. Like, not even like I'm not talking about like the actual GMs and like coaches and everything like that. I'm talking about like us, the fans. Like, it is literally just basically a live practice that y'all are watching, right? They run a few drills and then that's it, right? I think the biggest news to come out of it is that Travis Hunter is going in as a DB, which I figured as much. I think he'll be in a few packages as a wide receiver. Like they'll have like the Travis Hunter package when whatever team drafts him. But I figured he was going to go primarily as a DB, and that's nothing new to me. Um, I think again, it's more impressive to see like who's not going, right? And so far the rumors are that Shador is not going to participate in the scouting combine, and that's fine. Like if I'll say this, if nothing else, I think he should do. If he's not going to do like the on field drills, at the very least, he should do the 40 time, and obviously he'll do the weigh in. But they also have pro days for that too, so that's not a big deal. But like a lot of people I've seen have come out and said that Shador once again is being this arrogant jerk who's trying to show everybody that he's better than everybody. I'm like, guys, like there was a guy who missed out, who didn't go to the combine, and he had a pretty good year this year. Like he had a pretty decent year, right? Jaden Daniels didn't go to the scouting combine, and I'm pretty sure he turned out good, right? Like he turned out good. But I just think it's Shador is doing the thing that a lot of people hate is that he's being too quote unquote arrogant, too quote unquote cocky, and I'm just like, nah, I want that from my quarterback. Like I'll be 100% honest. I want my quarterback to be cocky. I want my quarterback to be arrogant because he is literally the most important player on the field at that point. Right? Like franchises have been made or broken by the selection of quarterbacks. And a few times I think we have come into like a quarterback thing where it's just quarterback should be like, golly gee, I'm just here to play football and hopefully we can win a Super Bowl or two, but I just want to give it my best. Like, nah, I don't want that from a quarterback. I want a quarterback that's going to be like, when I step out on the field, I'm going to be that dude. I'm going to be him. And that's what Shador has really, been given off. And I think a lot of people, it always rubs people the wrong way because people don't like it, especially when, again, I'll be honest, when it's a guy who comes from a family that's very affluent, that, you know, he comes from a bloodline in Deion Sanders who was that. Like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people are just like, I don't know where he gets it from. Like, have y'all not seen his daddy? Like y'all, I don't understand when people say like he's so cocky, but have y'all not ever paid attention to anything Deion Sanders has done when he was playing in the league? Like, why are y'all shocked that his seed, his son, is the exact same way as his daddy? Hello. Y'all would be the same people up there calling Deion Sanders cocky while he's still out there performing all of y'all. Shador Sanders is probably going to be the second quarterback taken off the board. Like I have him behind Cam Ward in my draft. I think Cam Ward is a little bit of a better quarterback. I think Cam Ward probably goes number one. But I just think that Shador is not this cocky, arrogant prick that everybody wants to come off as. He's just literally stunting like his daddy. If we were being honest, he's stunting like his daddy. So like y'all really need to just like understand that everybody doesn't have to be the wholesome player that everybody wants them to be. Like some players get to be a little bit flashy. Now again, if it doesn't translate onto the field, that's a different story. Right? If he's doing all of these things and he doesn't perform in his year in the NFL, then yeah, okay, then you have, some ammunition to go there. But if again, the worst thing that could happen is Shador gets drafted and he takes off and he has a year. He doesn't even have to have a year. He doesn't even have to have a year like Jaden Daniels. If he has a year like Caleb Williams, right? Like Caleb Williams, everybody was talking about him being too cocky and he's going to be humbled when he get into the NFL. And he was a little bit. He was humbled. But you also have to take into account the situation that he was coming into in the Bears. And for him to put up the numbers that he did while being under like 3 head coaches, 14 different offensive coordinators, all of these things for him to put up the numbers that he did was still very good. So Shador has to perform it on the field, and if he performs it on the field, it's only going to go up. The cockiness is only going to go up, and I'm going to love every single second of it. I hope he rubs it in all of y'all faces. Every time he scores a touchdown, I hope he does the watch celebration. I hope so. Because y'all want to take the fun out of the NFL because y'all don't like a player because of who his family is. Because the only difference between him and any other quarterback is he'll tell you how good he is and then he'll perform it on the field. And y'all do not like it when people are cocky and they can back it up. Let's be honest with you. Y'all don't like it when people are cocky and they can back it up. So, but as far as the scouting combine goes, I'm not really I'll watch it for like specific players and then, but that'll be about it. I don't sit down. Like, it's also harder now because back then in the 2010s, I was in school. So I had time to just kind of sit there and just watch, basically a live practice. Now that I'm working and I got family and kids, I can't just sit there and watch it. Also, I have the attention span of a goldfish now. I'll get bored easily and just be on my phone. So it is what it is. I'll watch it for some players. If not, I'll just catch it online like I do now. I mean, most of it is. Honestly, I'm just shocked that they haven't decided to start streaming it exclusively on like the NFL, not even on the NFL Network, on the NFL app. Like just exclusively on the app. not anyplace else. Because watch, in a few years, that's where it's going to be, just on the app in general. Speaking of cocky and arrogant people who are performing, shout out to Angel Reese. I told everybody that the Unrivaled was going to help her, and it did, right? She had a 20-20 game the other day against the Owls where she played in the Unrivals. And unlike before where, 10 of her, not even 10, 15 of her rebounds would be coming off her own misses, she only had she had 8 offensive rebounds and the rest were defensive rebounds. 2 of those were off of her own misses. She is getting better. We are going to have to start admitting that Angel Reese is starting to get better. And the moment Angel Reese starts to get better, like we talked about faces of the NBA, she's going to definitely be the face of the WNBA. I know everybody wants it to be Caitlin Clark. It's not going to be. Angel Reese has the crossover appeal. She does. Y'all can be upset about what she does off the court, what she wears. Oh, she's basically just on her way to be an OnlyFans. Y'all can say all of that you want. If next year in the WNBA, she can do what she's been doing in the Unrivals, y'all gonna have nothing to talk about. Like, y'all can try to bring up everything she does off the court, whatever, but y'all better start putting respect on her name on the court. Because she's been working with probably the greatest WNBA player to ever exist in Lisa Leslie. And if she can get a shot, if she can get her layup together, she's the face. There's no debate about it. She will be the face. And I will say this. The problem people have right now is the only way they can bring somebody up is by pushing someone else down. And it was an easy thing to do with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Because again, for everybody who was hating on Angel Reese for doing the John Cena, the Tony Yayo in Caitlin Clark's face, a lot of y'all, and y'all were upset about it. That only tells me that a lot of y'all never really actually was playing sports, that y'all was just active in it. Because y'all killed her for doing that for no other reason, because it's not right. She shouldn't do that. We really need to stop doing this respectability thing in sports. I want to bring back old school trash talking, cockiness in sports. Stop doing this whole respectability thing. Stop doing the golly gee, I'm just here to play and win. No, I'm here to play and win and make sure I play and win. That's why I love Ant, because Ant will do that. I love the fact that he went up to Obama and said, like, dog, no, I'm the truth. I love that. Bring more of that back to sports. Because y'all want to bump the ratings up a little bit more? Bring that back. Bring back cockiness to sports. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my time. Shout out to Fluent Radio for putting me on. Shout out to y'all for listening. Until next time, guys, I got 2 fingers for you. Deuces. Because I Have a Live Mic was proudly presented to you by Fluent Radio, where all things are fluent. Please like, share, and subscribe. All right, 2 fingers. Deuces.